crazy about love, and I'm crazy about love myself. And when I'm with you, baby, can't think about nothing else. I've seen so many men, it's like looking through a fine-tooth comb. Yes, I've seen so many men, it's like looking through a fine-tooth comb. But these young cats will make a good girl lose her home. I wanna go north.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Volpe Bazzo Report. Dominic Volpe's not here tonight, and we have as a guest host, not in his position as Yorktown councilman, but he will be as a recurring role of our political guru, David Paganelli. Welcome, David.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Respected businessman for many years, 32 years to be exact, with the
32
Travelers Rest, recently retired.
Yes.
To concentrate more on political issues now, because you have been elected to the Yorktown Council.
Yes.
And I assume that the Yorktown, you work with the other town councils like Cortland and Peekskill, I'm assuming.
We have interaction, absolutely.
Because of the water district and
Yes.
and the stream. And so you're familiar with the area that we're showing our show in.
Correct.
You boarded on Ossining, and this show also shows in Ossining. Yes. But you are here to be the second smartest man in the room because I'm in the room.
Well, there's only two of us here, so yeah,
Right.
it's an easy role to fill.
Well, my mother's here.
Your mom is here.
She could be the smartest person in the room.
She probably is, which
Well-
would make me the third.
Anyway, let's get into a couple of things. We do have these races going on, not just for the presidency and state for the Senate, Kirsten Gillibrand versus Wendy Long. I want to ask you something. We'll go into the state races and some of the local things in a minute, but I want to ask you something. I can't conceive of a scenario where 50.1% of the people that are going to go to the polls are going to say, I want 4 more years of this economy. I'm putting Obama back in. Can you conceive of that scenario?
I tell you the truth. We get fed such a line from the government that, unemployment is at 8%. And, ask around, talk to your friends, talk to people, who have gone from great jobs to just anything you could find to make a living. And I would be shocked if you factor in the people who are no longer able to collect unemployment benefits, who are off the rolls, and the young people coming out of college who cannot find jobs, if we're not looking at closer to 20%. I don't see this recession ending.
Last week's show, Dominic was guest hosting, and we were talking about his kids in college. You got kids in college, correct?
Yes, one, yep.
And they got not that great an opportunity out there when they get out. Am I correct, or do you think?
No, I don't think they have a great opportunity. I think that a prime example is, and it's an ever-evolving scenario. So the 4 years to 6 years that you're in college, the unfortunate thing is that when you come out, the jobs that 6 years ago were bountiful are no longer in existence. Prime example: pharmacists 7, 8 years ago were in huge demand. Pharmacy chains were paying big bonuses to get pharmacists, so everyone went to pharmacy school. Now there are pharmacists can't find jobs.
So, again, let's go back to the question. Do you think there's 50.1% of the American voters, not the American people, because a lot of people don't vote,
right,
that are going to say, give me 4 more years
No,
of this?
absolutely not. I think people are suffering. I think that
gas is $4.20 a gallon.
Gas is absurd, and when people say, "Oh, the president has nothing to do with that," the president has everything to do with it.
Policy.
It's policy.
Why does
There's
this
ways
president?
to cut gas.
Why does this president have nothing to do with anything? Libya. That wasn't his fault. That was a movie that nobody saw by people that don't know what a toilet is. But that caused the riots. The economy is the fault of a man who hasn't been in office for 3 years. His new policies are the fault of a Congress that's only been in power for 1 year, yet he had another Congress for 2 years that gave him everything he wanted. Why is nothing his fault? And do you think people like a president that whines?
I think that we have a media that is extremely slanted to, how they project the president. I think if it was anyone else, that certainly they would be under a lot more scrutiny, and You know, I don't see how you can say nothing is your fault.
I read in a
If
column
the buck has to stop somewhere, and if the buck doesn't stop with the president of the
That's what I
United
mean.
States, where does the buck stop?
I read a column that one of the columnists called the media now Democrats with bylines. I thought that was an apt description.
Well, it's
Especially
you know,
in the New York media. Because we get our news filtered through the New York media.
Right.
So Romney is not going to get a fair shake in the news
Oh,
that,
no,
that we're
certainly
going to
not.
see. But just that, you know, we watch gas is now at $4.20 a gallon. And a big issue.
actually 4.20 a gallon in Westchester is a
Right.
good price right now.
Right.
Because I just noticed on my way here that gas that I purchased 3 days ago for $4.09 is now $4.19.
Now, I discussed this with Dominic.
In
but I
3
want-
days?
I'll be right. I want to discuss this. We had discussed this because it is in the news and it's been big. It's hydrofracking. And we have, except for Steve Katz, who is our assemblyman in District 94 where we live, every other person, Castelli, Ball, Wagner, Fine, Galiff, they're all against fracking, but they're in favor of job creation. Private sector job creation. I submitted to Dominic the question that you can't say I'm in favor of private sector and be against fracking. Go.
I believe that, you know, fracking is certainly something that we need to look into. It would create a tremendous amount of jobs.
You were saying off the air.
In the private sector, you know, to create jobs in the public sector, I like to consider that municipal welfare. All right, essentially, that you know, that's really, are you really creating jobs, or are you just taking taxpayer money and paying other people with them?
That's my submission.
You know,
it's not a job created.
Private sector jobs created by hydrofracking. You look at the states where they are hydrofracking, and people aren't just, you know, and clearly keeling over, dead from working, and the states are booming.
So let me, but you were off the air. You were giving a figure of how many jobs right away can be created with hydro in New York.
From what I understand, like 33,000 jobs.
And that's just related to. We're not even talking about the support jobs and the other businesses to support the people doing the work.
Right.
So, I talked on the last show, and you were. I heard you laughing in the back, but now I got you here. It seems the latest. This for the people that missed the first episode. The latest episode. The reason they want to stop hydrofracking is they say it will promote STDs, that the workers will come in and perform unsafe sex practices, and I was curious that it only says male workers, and
I'll read the excerpt.
it says that they argue that a drilling boom would draw an influx of male workers from other states who would engage in activities of a kind that would spread sexually transmitted diseases. Now, you know.
So is that the assumption that anyone working in the construction industry is sexually promiscuous?
Well, apparently,
are we leaping from male workers coming into the fact that they're just sexually promiscuous and they're just going to be totally, that's all they're going to do. They won't be working.
Right, apparently,
just be having
private sector, because the governor has asked his health commissioner, Nirav Shah, to review whether this health concern is real. But he didn't ask him to review when they do the new Tappan Zee Bridge and they hire the public sector workers. Maybe they don't have sex. Maybe it's just, I mean, you've been in the private sector all your life.
Right.
Who has the sex, the private sector or the public?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on where you're reading it.
I mean, I hate to tell you this. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people in my taxi business, and they think the public sector's been screwing us for years.
There is that opinion, certainly.
But I just want to,
You know, I think what happens
Why
when
do
you
you
have an
think-
issue that's this passionate to people,
You're in
that
politics.
they will come up with any reason to, you know, when they start getting to the point where they're saying that STDs, you know, are a concern with respect to hydrofracking, they've run out of other arguments. Because honestly, if there was proof that hydrofracking was definitively dangerous to the water supply and definitively dangerous to those people working on it, you wouldn't be making the leap to, we have to be concerned about the auxiliary effects. That it's almost like the California Gold Rush. When the California Gold Rush, started and saloons opened up and saloons had brothels in them. Is that the implication? Is the implication that, since this is out in the middle of the state, there's not going to be a lot of people around, so they're going to set up trailers like they have
getting tattoos.
Right, they won't happen in Peekskill, so you don't have to worry about that.
No, what I'm more concerned about is because you deal with many government agencies. He is a councilman from Yorktown, if I didn't mention it. The DEC, you would not consider them, the New York State DEC, you would not consider them a bunch of conservative people running around town, right?
Right.
They're more on the left side. And they spent, with the federal EPA, $4 billion over 4 years studying the air pollution, the water pollution, and all the effects of fracking to prove that it was unsafe, and they couldn't. Do you think that these people that are against it know something more than that at the $4 billion that hasn't already been studied?
I maintained from the beginning when the one state that was being referenced over and over again was Pennsylvania, which
like
has
Gasland, the movie Gasland, yes.
With respect to hydrofracking,
right,
which has the most lax EPA requirements in the country. So the fact that New York State has among the more stringent,
the most stringent, according to the editor,
right,
the most stringent.
I was thinking the only that might be more stringent might be California, but let's say the most stringent. And these people certainly take their job very seriously.
They do. You deal with them. These are not people that, because you're dealing with the Costco, and you're going to have to deal with them with the Costco and all this.
Who is out there to say that they know more than them? Special interest groups that are against hydrofracking, like special interest groups that are against certain development and things like that.
There is a theory I read in yesterday's paper that the people against hydrofracking are actually being funded by foreign oil interests, because if fracking actually took place in the United States, it would lead us to becoming very energy independent and not depending on foreign oil. Do you think there may be a credence to this?
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, certainly,
I'm not a conspiracist, but you got to follow the money.
Well, I couldn't, say definitively because I don't know enough about it. And I make it a point not to comment on things I don't know enough. But could it be? My feeling is, when we've been sold a bill of goods over time, why were we told that if we destroyed the pristine wilderness of Alaska to put in the Alaskan pipeline, we would never be dependent on foreign oil? Yet not a drop of that oil comes to the United States.
No, it goes to Japan.
90% goes to Japan, 10% goes to Russia. Why? We were promised we would never be dependent on foreign oil. We were told if we allowed legalized gambling, which people were in jail for, the numbers, the daily number, horse betting, that we would never see an increase in school taxes. All that money would be channeled to school taxes. See, why are our school taxes?
Well, I'll tell you. I can tell you what
bill?
happened there, because I had the liquor store. We had the first lottery machine in that part of Yorktown. It was supposed to be, the lottery money was supposed to go to the school districts in addition to the regular monies the state allotted them. Now it's in lieu.
That's right.
Of the money, so the state gives less money and makes up for it with the lottery, and that's why you're.
But that's not what we were told.
No, that was not what was supposed to be.
So how are we ever to believe anything that we're told? That when consistently we've been lied to, and we've been sold a bill of goods to allow something to occur that has not brought to fruition what we were promised.
It's according to who's doing the lying, because you do have other states where fracking is allowed. Where, again, I use this as an example of North Dakota because that is the most success story of it, where they have a government referendum to eliminate property tax. So they have a $9 billion surplus.
Wouldn't that be a
surplus.
beautiful thing?
Right. I mean, New York State runs, right now the bottom line in New York State is $132 billion, because the governor wants to freeze the budget for next year's budget talks. It's $132 billion. And that's trying to run a government with a whole southern tier of New York, desperate, and the money that this would bring in, and you want to add on top of that having casinos, because you got all that traffic going on. See, I look at the fracking, I look at casino gambling, legalized gambling, the same as I look locally at Costco that wants to go into Yorktown. We have traffic. We have a ton of people going to Cortland, spending their money. Ton of people. There's traffic, and that traffic is going out of Yorktown. Yes, so a Costco would create traffic. Gambling dens, you would have people gambling. And if you had fracking, you would have construction. But all that money, instead of leaving the state to Pennsylvania, to Connecticut, to Atlantic City, or to Cortland, Costco-wise, would stay here. The sales tax, the fees, also would be spent here. And with Costco, with Yorktown, we get a piece of the action of the sales tax revenue that they are not getting from those people going to Walmart.
Right. True.
So I ask you now.
And it would create jobs. And people, opponents say that, oh, geez, another, minimum wage job. Costco is one of the top. And you know what? Whatever the voters decide, that's fine. But
you got a public hearing coming.
Right, we have a public hearing on October 15th, 7:30.
And that's the first of many.
I'm sure that based on the number of people that are turning out, we will not give everyone an opportunity to speak in one public
here
hearing.
It took them 2 years just to overturn an anti-tattoo law.
Yep.
So, and that's just for a tattoo parlor. We're talking about Costco with a gas station. I would assume they're going to have quite a few public hearings.
Well, no question. And you know what? Certainly people have their concerns, and some of their concerns are valid. But everything in life, anybody that says it's a win-win, there's no such thing as a win-win. Everything has a balance. And you know what? It's my belief that it's my knowledge that Costco is one of the top 3 employers in the country. All right, they provide medical benefits in an economy that is very difficult, and the thing that's killing most businesses is providing medical insurance for their employees.
You know what bothers me? Because you talk about minimum wage jobs, which
And
Costco,
they're not minimum wage
Costco
jobs.
pays like Walmart
Right.
pays. In New York,
In 2 years, the average cashier at Costco will be making approximately $50,000 a year.
Why is everybody putting down minimum wage jobs? Those jobs were designed to get you into the workforce, not feed your
But
family.
this is the problem when you have
the second thing.
When you have a small group of very vocal. When I was elected, and that's outside of this, but when I was elected, I said I would speak for the silent majority, not the vocal minority, because the vocal minority will always have a strong opinion.
I have to ask you this, and you have to have found this, and it's dealing in public hearings, that these people that are against private sector growth in Yorktown, whether Costco or a number of things, they all have jobs, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
But
People, what amazes me is the people that want to tell you that you should have cluster housing, little village effects like Celebration in Florida, that, we need little stores that people can go to, little candle stores, little this. And these are not people that own little candle stores.
Right.
Because little candle store can't pay the rents in Yorktown. All right, and these same people that are telling you, oh, we should have a pedestrian-friendly, living community. These are people living on 5-acre pieces of property.
So
they're not moving. They're not moving into the little, community that they want to go and visit.
It kills me in this economy that people with jobs will be the judge of what kind of job a person without a job should have.
What we're experiencing, I think, in this economy, and as it's been dragging on, this recession was supposed to last 3 years, and if you listen to the government, they tell you it ended 3 years ago. I don't see it ending for at least 3 to 4 years. I don't see any indicators that say this recession is over.
Well,
I think it's spiraling
What do you
worse.
think now, you were in the business.
Yes.
You had people, you told me in a show that we did for somebody else that had other type of looking to be just waiters in your place.
Yeah.
What was the job that you said the guy had? He was a very smart
graphic designer, looking to wash dishes.
That's right, the dishwasher
It wasn't a
job.
waiter job.
And you had this guy that had a brilliant
Right.
and
But people will do whatever's necessary. And you know what? The
the
bottom line is, Andy? There's no shame in that. I come from a long line of blue-collar workers. My father was a plumber. My uncle was an electrician. I'm a strong supporter of the unions. All right? I believe that the private sector unions are not the problem in this country.
I don't believe it is either. But the point, I know what all honest work. Nobody should ever hang their head. No. I'm in the taxi business, and I see how people look at me when they come down those stairs. And I talk to the other drivers. I says, you don't have to apologize to anybody for this job because it's an honest living.
That's right. It makes, people who are elitist and look down on people who are blue-collar workers or who are, struggling to get by, they're unsympathetic, they're elitist, and they really don't care about anyone but themselves. That's it in a nutshell.
No,
And you should never, it doesn't matter what you do for a living. You know what? Whether I owned a restaurant or I drive a truck, it really doesn't matter.
but I believe in New York State, our policies have exasperated the situation to make the unemployment situation in New York worse than even the national unemployment.
How so?
The regulations on business. The philosophy which killed the Kingsbury Berry Armory, and again, like we deal with Costco, that no job is better than a minimum wage job. And if you're
How
going to
could you
have,
say that? But we have the whole welfare system. I mean,
they
if you want
killed
to,
the
look
whole
at it,
Kingsbury Armory
Right.
on that. That would have been 2,000 jobs.
right, the whole welfare system feeds into this. In other words, it doesn't pay to get a job. You know what? If the welfare system was restructured, that said, you know what? If you get a job and you make $300 a week, we're going to pay you $150 less a week. The government would save money. It would be an incentive for the people to find work. Right? Because why would I go to work for $300 a week when I'm getting $400 a week sitting home?
I think
Where's my incentive?
I think you're talking about this because you read the headline for my next
No,
segue.
I didn't see it.
The governor wants to give Medicaid for all ex-cons. Crime pays.
Yes, crime pays.
It's ripe for a column. Apparently, another group of people who have been having sex problems with STDs and need doctors when they get out of jail. The governor wants to give ex-cons Medicaid. And I'm saying to myself,
So where's the incentive for them to go out and find a job?
that's the point, the people that are honest. Maybe we should commit a crime because then we go to jail, maybe just for 6 months. We come out.
You can get all your dental work done.
Right. We're eligible for Medicaid. We're eligible for Section 8 housing. We're eligible for welfare. We're eligible for food stamps. Who needs to go to work?
Wow, that's the problem. The whole system is flawed.
And this is New York.
And things like this just continue to propagate those flaws. That's the problem.
And who pays for this?
The taxpayer and the business owner pay for this.
And the problem is you now have some job growth in New York, but it is in the entry-level position. It's in the big jobs are left to the other states. But there is a fact that there are entry-level jobs that are really being built now in the hospitality industry and in the retail industry. But these are not big paying jobs. And now you have state senators running for office and assembly people running for office that want to hike the minimum wage from, what is it now, $7.25 to $8.50 an hour. And the last time they did it, people were fired, nobody was hired, and the 16 to 29-year-old age bracket that was supposed to benefit got hurt the most with a decrease in employment of 29%. Does this make sense in this economy?
It doesn't make sense. I understand the desire to do the right thing is one step, all right? Raise minimum wage, it'll help people,
Does it?
But
The
the problem is if the flip side of that, now you lose 30% of those jobs, you're really
Right.
not helping people.
That's what I'm saying.
Because you're really, often you're hurting the majority to help the minority. That's the problem. It doesn't.
It adds to the unemployment total.
Right.
So why would you say, again, and they're all running to be pro-job growth.
Well,
And again, I submit you
I
ca-
find politically that certainly everybody latches on to what the item du jour is. Right now it's job growth, because if the jobs were bountiful and development was rampant, it would be conservation. People would latch on to the green
I
movement,
understand that, but
you
you're
know.
coming, they're all, again, everyone, we want to cut back on the unfunded mandates. But isn't a minimum wage increase an unfunded mandate? Isn't that in the same press release hypocrisy?
Yeah, in the same press release it would be. But like I said, I don't believe that when you look at things and you don't look at the long-term effects of it, and you say, well, let's increase the minimum wage, that'll help people. Yes, it will help people. But it will also, like I said before, there is no win-win.
I'm developing an argument for a column that's where I submit the idea that the problem with especially New York, both parties, New York, because even the Republicans are more liberal than they are conservative, is that they want to be judged by their intentions, not by the results of their actions. Yes, we want to be judged. We're compassionate. We're going to give you $8.50 an hour. Okay, so the 30% that are going to lose their jobs,
that doesn't get mentioned
That
too much.
doesn't count.
Right.
But we did give those people. We're going to raise taxes on the people that actually create jobs and invest in business. When they tweak the millionaires. But we're not going to raise taxes on the people who's not going to get the job because the people that we just raised taxes on left to other states.
Right.
But we went after that evil rich guy. But how many poor people, in your experience, how many poor people create jobs?
Not a lot of poor people create jobs.
I mean,
but
they
you know
don't
what?
know much
I
money.
also take offense at people who criticize minimum wage jobs because minimum wage jobs are a starting point. You know what?
Necessary.
Nobody aspires to remain in a minimum wage job. There are many people, including, from what I understand, the person at Costco started out at the bottom and worked his way to the
But
top.
the
You know
point
what?
is you ran a business.
If you don't start somewhere, you can't. Nobody can start at the top.
You ran a business. Didn't these jobs teach people how to interact with other people, let alone bosses, but fellow workers, to develop a routine of getting up, going home, dressing? This is all, and they're being paid, basically they're getting an on-the-job training and getting paid for it is the way I look at it.
Well, yeah, I mean, and certainly in our industry, it wasn't a minimum wage job because there were tips involved and things like that.
But the fact we're still entry level, a lot of this, the
Yes.
bus boy,
Right.
the bar back.
But you know what? What I
porter.
found was it taught. We had one person that started with us as a busboy, and the person I'm most proud of is that he went on to become one of the youngest five-star concierge in the history of the Society de Concierge at the Peninsula Hotel in Beverly Hills. Local kid from Yorktown.
You also had another one that, because it's in our viewing area, Peter Tripati.
Yes, and Peter
Worked for you.
Peter
And he went on to a
his
nice career right
brother
now
worked
in politics.
Peter is among the youngest councilmen
In Austin,
in the state.
right. But he,
And he's going to law school, and you know what? Peter's awesome. I mean, he's
had to
done
be
great for
interesting
himself.
that he got into politics before you.
Yes, it was interesting. But that's
You're
okay.
one of the
I wasn't-
oldest
you know,
people
I
in
wasn't-
politics.
It wasn't something, I mean, I was always involved with the community, tried to use my business to benefit the community. So my public service was always on a different level, and it wasn't something that I aspired to. It wasn't like I got up in the morning and said, I don't even like to refer to myself as a politician. It makes me uncomfortable when people refer to me as councilman. I'm Dave.
You mean,
know what?
so I shouldn't have worn the
Yeah,
shirt?
you shouldn't have worn the
I
shirt,
shouldn't have
no.
worn the shirt.
That was
It
from the
says,
election.
"Elect Dave Paganelli, councilman."
Yeah, that's a foregone conclusion at this point.
Yes.
Yeah. So my involvement, sort of stemmed from, this would be the next logical step for you to try and do the right thing on a larger scale.
We've got to wrap this up. Now, I assume there's only you and I in the room and my mother.
Right.
You are going to be our regular economic guru.
Yeah, I'd be honored to be here anytime you'd have me.
Well,
certainly, I've suffered and I've been through it, and I know what it's like to be on the tail end of business when you're getting hammered.
I have a customer that says sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug.
No question.
And you've been both.
Yep, I have
Dave,
been both.
thank you for
Thanks, Andy.
being here.
Pleasure. Thank you.
And I know we'll have you on a lot because now we're going to have different town budgets coming up.
Yes.
And we're going to get not just your
And this is
town,
my first budget, so yeah, I'm really
right, but you'll be able to talk about the other budgets.
Yes, well, I'll be able to talk about this one too.
Okay, everybody, I'm glad you stopped by again tonight. We'll see you soon with our next taping. And Darren Rigger, who's well known here, will be our political consultant to talk about the elections on the next show. Yeah, your dad.
Well, you're crazy about love, and I'm crazy about love myself. Yes, you're crazy about love, and I'm crazy about love myself. And when I'm with you, baby, can't think about nothing else. I've seen so many men, it's like looking through a fine-tooth comb. Yeah. which way